TCP connection termination. In TCP three-way handshake process, connection is established between the client and the server. In transmission control protocol TCP using SYN bit segments. So a connection is established using the SYN bit segments from the client to the server. From the client to the server. In TCP, closed connection between the client and the server is also need to send bits to the server in which the FIN bit is set to 1. Initiator is established connection and receiver. So step 1 is FIN from client. Suppose that the client application decides it wants to close the connection. So this is all about TCP connection termination. So suppose the client decides that it wants to terminate the connection. It wants to close the connection. Note that the server could also choose to close the connection. So either the client can choose or the server can choose. This causes the client send a TCP segment with the FIN bit set to 1 to the server and to enter FIN bit 1 state. So it will be what? This causes the client send a TCP segment with a FIN bit set to 1 to the server and it itself will enter in a FIN bit 1 state. So this is the initiator who wants to initiate a termination. Then it will send a FIN bit to the receiver. Here in this case we have this is a server and this is a client. We have taken an example where a client wants to close the application. So the client will send a FIN bit set to 1 to the server and it itself will go in a FIN bit 1 state. While in the FIN bit 1 state, the client waits for a TCP segment from the server with an acknowledgement ACK. So while it is in this state, it will wait for the TCP segment from the server with an acknowledgement of ACK that the FIN bit equal to 1 has been received to the server. So what it will do, it will wait for this ACK message to come from the server while it is in the FIN bit 1 state. Step 2, ACK from server. When server received FIN bit segment from the sender, that is a client, server immediately sends acknowledgement ACK segment to the sender, that is the client. So when the server receives a FIN bit from client, what it will do? It will immediately send a ACK segment to the client. Step number 3. Client waiting. While in the FIN wait 1 state, the client waits for a TCP segment from the server with an acknowledgement. So the client will wait for a TCP segment from the server with an acknowledgement. When it receives this segment, the client enters the FIN wait 2 state. While in the FIN wait 2 state, the client waits for another segment from the server with FIN bit set to 1. So once the client has received the ACK segment, the client will wait and then what will happen? After receiving this ACK segment, so ACK received from server, client will now move from FIN wait 1 to FIN wait 2. When in the FIN wait 2 segment, it will also wait for a FIN bit set to 1 to be received from the server side. Step 4. FIN from the server. Server sends FIN bit segment to the client, that is the sender. After some time, when the server sends the ACK segment because of some closing process in the server. Step 5, ACK from the client. When the client receives the fin bit segment from the server, so client has received the fin bit segment from the server, the client acknowledges the server segment and enters the time wait. So from fin wait 2, it will enter the time wait state. The time wait states lets the client resend the final acknowledgement in case the ACK is lost. The time spent by the client in the time wait state is dependent on their implementations, but their typical values are 30 seconds, 1 minute and 2 minutes. After the wait, the connection formally closes and all resources on the client side, including the port numbers and the buffer data, are released. So what is happening? Very simple. You have to start a connection loss. Now, one person has to initiate the connection loss. It can be either the server or the client. In our example, we are saying that the client is going for a termination. So what will the client do? To go for a termination, the client will send a TCP segment with a fin bit set to 1 to the server and will itself go in the fin wait 1 state. It will remain in the fin wait 1 state until it has received a request from the server, ACK bit segment from the server. Once it receives an ACK bit segment from the server, it will now move from fin wait 1 state to the fin wait 2 state. After that, what will happen? It will also receive a fin bit set equal to 1 from the server. And what will it do? It will go in the fin wait 2 state. Server will now send the fin bit to the client and the client will go in the fin wait 2 state. Now the client will send a ACK bit to the server and it will change its state from fin wait 2 to time wait. So now it changes the state from fin wait 2 to the time wait. When does it do that? When it is sending this ACK segment. And after which all the connections will be lost between the client and the server.